Hey, this is Zanye, licensed clinical professional counselor with Evolving Minds Therapy, but this is Zanye Speaks. So let's talk about it. I want to talk about life is better after death. Don't get alarmed. Let me just explain. What I mean by that is we have certain parts to ourselves that really are better when they die off. Okay, when we kill them off, when they die off. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of part psychology. It's a book. It's a book and it's a concept. You could say it's another theory. Most of you have probably heard of DID, or multiple personalities, is what it used to be called. Now it's called DID, dissociative identity disorder, and those are people with multiple people within their minds, okay, within their bodies, their minds. These people were usually created during trauma or traumatic events. So, say you've been molested, you're literally being molested, your brain may split into another person. These people continue with you throughout your life until you may be able to integrate them back to the host person. The host person is you, the actual original person. So that's a little bit of DID, just briefly. So what I'm talking about is parts. We all have different personas, and I know you're aware of your personas. So you may have an angry persona, you may have a sexy persona, you may have a motherly persona. So those are all parts to us. But when you get into talking about depression, anxiety, stressful, type A, overwhelmed, some of those parts, life would be better if they died. Get what I mean? So, all of us have parts. We all have parts that we love. Maybe there's a sweet part to you. Maybe there's a caring part to you, but there's also other parts that we don't like. So maybe the person that gets overwhelmed when you have multiple stressors. Maybe it's the person that gets depressed. I don't know why the camera's shaking, but it's me. Don't worry about it. We're gonna have lots of moments like that. When you come to this channel, you're gonna get real authenticity. It's Zanye Speaks. I have a lot to say. Things that I wouldn't typically say to clients, but not necessarily because I'm very upfront with my clients, but things that I really just want to talk about and not talking to clients. I want to just share some of the knowledge that I have and also life experience. I always tell people I've lived 4 lives. I'm on my fourth life. My fourth life. And you guys will hear a lot of stories from me. Stories that are going to hopefully be enriching, hopefully be empowering. I've been through a lot and I'm still standing, and so are you. So it's very important that you know you're still standing, even through all the mess. So, back to the topic, life is better after death, right? So, some of these parts really need to die. They need to go somewhere. I know I've heard of this concept, like when people find religion and things like that, they say, oh, I've killed off the old person, the old worldly person. So similar, but this is not a religious concept. I am literally talking about part psychology. So sometimes parts of us, so say we have toxic people, or you're a toxic person at times, that part may need to go. Say you have a resentful spirit, that part needs to go. Why does it need to go? Because your life is going to be better without it. Anything we do, we really need to think about ourselves. I always tell my clients, at the end of the day, self-preservation always kicks in. No matter if you know you're doing it or your body's just doing it, your brain's just doing it, it's going to kick in. You're going to want to protect and save self. But why wait until you have to? Why not plan and continuously save self and think about self? Put self first. Now, I'm not talking about the negative connotation we all have or think about as selfish. I'm talking about self-care. Okay? Making sure you get your needs. Because too many of us compromise, overly compromise until you lose yourself. You don't even know who you are anymore because you've been with this person and you've compromised a million times over than what you normally would. You've compromised your own values, your own needs. That's not self-preservation. And it takes some time to learn these things. So there are also parts that you may want to keep that can also die, right? So say, here's a story. I'm going to go into a little bit of story. So say when you were a teen, sweetest person ever. I'll tell you, sweetest, and I'm still sweet. I'm very caring, very nice. But there's a difference. So naive, sweet, also meeting your first boyfriend. You have no idea what you're doing, right? So there's just a sweet innocence, that I had that I no longer have. That part of me died. Now, not the whole caring part and the loving part, and still sometimes a little naive, but the complete innocence, because my innocence was taken from me. Okay, but that doesn't mean, again, that we can't grow these parts, strengthen these parts, focus on those good parts, and bring them back to life. Right? Just because I'm no longer, I'm no longer that 14-year-old innocent girl doesn't mean that I can't still be innocent in certain ways, right? But I would never want to go back to being naive, because that means I don't have a lot of knowledge and I can't navigate a lot of things. So of course I still want my wisdom that I've gained over the years. So life is better after your parts, some of the negative, detrimental, what we would call distorted emotional parts to us. Some of those, life would be better if they died off. So next thing, I want to kind of tell you the next step. How do you begin to let go of those parts that you want to die off, or you just don't want them in your life? If some of you don't like the word die off, right? But you just don't want them in your life anymore. You don't need them. They're not helpful. They're hurtful. They're not working for you. So how do you do that? Next week, I'm going to tell you how you do that. How do you start to let go? Resentments, it's basically forgiveness. Sometimes we need to forgive ourselves. Other times we need to forgive other people. But either way, that's how we grow. That's how we become whole. You can't hold on to past resentments thinking that it's hurting the other person, or the other person knows how you're feeling. They don't know how you're feeling, and it's never affecting them the way it affects you. So next week, again, we'll talk about how do you start to kill off some of the parts that we don't like. Okay, number one, acknowledgement. You have to acknowledge what parts are causing you to die inside. You're not living if you're dying inside. Now, depression is the number one. Of course, there are very severe mental health issues which require medication. I'm talking about the ones that don't. The ones that our thoughts create. So depression, anxiety, panic attacks, our thoughts create those emotions. We wouldn't have panic attacks, we wouldn't have a depressed mood if we didn't think of things in a certain way. So that's why some people have it heavily, some people have it mildly, moderate, some people don't have it at all. Everyone experiences sadness, but it doesn't have to go to the level of depression. But everyone's been grieving. Everyone's probably lost someone. Most people have lost people. So you do get to a certain point. But again, how do you move from that point and forward? It's really addressing, processing, and eventually killing off the part that you don't need in your life. So this is Zanye Speaks. I want you guys to be expecting me. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos. I'll probably do a lot this weekend and then kind of post them throughout the week. I'm still very new to this, but again, I have a lot to say. I also want to do phone calls. I want you guys to be able to talk to a therapist, a down-to-earth professional. I've been doing this for 7 years. Therapist. I want my people to feel comfortable with coming into therapy, which this is not therapy. Disclaimer. This is not therapy. This is more of opinions, I'll say, for YouTube. And also, I will say advice. Because in therapy, I'm not allowed to give advice. I'm only allowed to help you process and then make your own decisions. I don't give advice. I don't tell you what you need to do. I tell you options. I definitely process options with you. But on this platform, I definitely want to give advice. There's a ton of advice that I want to be able to tell people. Like, girl, don't you do that. That's narcissism. And if you stay with narcissism, you're going to continue to get your heart broke. There are no changes unless that man or female wants to acknowledge that they're narcissistic, which is like 0.1% that do it, okay? That acknowledge their faults and their issues. So, usually I want to say, just run, and I'll tell people that, oh, that's toxic. That is hurtful and toxic, but I will never tell someone to leave their husband. I'll never say leave your mate. I'll never give you that advice as a therapist. But on this platform, girl, run, because it's not going to get any better. The man don't want to go to therapy. He doesn't want to talk to you about it. He just wants things to remain the same. He turns everything onto you. He flips, the problems onto you when they're all his issues. Why personalize it? So we're going to be talking about some good stuff. And again, it's coming from a therapist, so it is going to have references to book stuff, book knowledge, but also my life experience, which again, I have a ton. It's amazing that I'm still standing, but I am, and so are you. So I know I have some things that I can share with you, and I can't wait to do that, and I'm starting now. So again, the title of this was Life is Better After Death. Let me explain, and hopefully I did that. So next time we talk, I'm going to be talking about how do you kind of start to pick the parts apart, and then how do you put it back together. And again, most of that is with forgiving and letting go. We have a hard time letting go of things that hurt us, and it's just not healthy, and everything we do for therapy and our mental health is to be healthy. It's so we can keep going on. It's so we can live and not suffer. So I also have a few other good topics that I want to let you know that we're going to talk about. One of them is, are therapists exempt from mental health issues? Let's see. And if not, does that mean can we not effectively help people if we have mental health issues? So that's going to be a good one. Also, I want to talk about raising a trans teen as a therapist. A lot of people think we don't have issues. Knock, knock. We're humans. Of course we have issues. The one thing that really, and this is a little off topic, the one thing that kind of gets to me is a lot of clients, they treat us like we're kind of not people. And they also kind of treat us without respect. They rush us. They'll call you 1,000 times if you're only 1 minute late, which, doctors, right? They have one level above me, a PhD, which would take me two years, right? But of course, they went to medical schools as well. Our program takes us 9 years to finish. 9 whole years to become a therapist. 6 years in school, 3 years for your professional internship, where you're paying someone so you can work and make your money and still, I guess it's saying practice therapy, but no, you're thrown into therapy. You either sink or you swim. But we don't get the respect of like other medical providers, and we are literally medical providers. We have a treatment plan for you, and we're dealing with your body. It's mental health. It's your brain, really. It's not just emotions. It's your brain, the way your brain thinks. Now, psychiatrists, they deal with your brain in another way, chemically, right? We deal with it as far as how you're thinking and processing things. So I really just, I hope the channel goes well. I hope I'm very, helpful to a lot of people, even therapists, just by being upfront and honest about the things we struggle with. Again, we're human. So I want you to always remember that if you are seeing your therapist, it's just like coming into a medical office. There's a 15-minute grace period. We're going to get to you. We're definitely going to call you. We definitely haven't forgotten you. Just have a little patience, and be open-minded. When you're going to someone, of course you have to have that bond, that therapeutic relationship, build rapport, but that means you have to be open. You can't just come in judging the person already, right? Like, no, and again, your therapist should never be judgmental. We can see what's going on. We can evaluate and analyze, but that doesn't mean that we have a judgment about it. And I know for me, I'll speak for me, I am very accepting of so many different kind of people. There are no judgments, but there are things that are helpful, healthy, unhelpful, and unhealthy. So that's what I'm judging. That's the only thing I'm judging. Healthy or unhealthy. Hurtful, helpful. That's it. But everybody can live their life. So when you find a good therapist like that, keep them. Make sure you open up. Make sure you're, again, not defensive. Make sure you don't hold them to some higher standard than anyone. We're just people. So if you ever have issues with your therapist, you just let them know. Also, if you have any issues with whatever I've said, let me know in the comment. But also let me know some topics that you want me to discuss and cover. Because again, I want to do like live voice calls so you guys can call in and actually get advice. So this is more or so like life coaching, but because I have the background in mental health therapy, I'll definitely be giving you guys therapy tips. I couldn't, help it. And a lot of therapy tips are life tips. I mean, I always tell my clients, therapy tips, therapy, it's very much, I used to say common sense. My teachers used to get so upset. They're like, what do you mean common sense? I'm like, it's kind of common sense, right? This makes a lot of sense, which is what I mean. Like, it's very easy to comprehend. And then they put all these fancy titles on things like catastrophizing, just say blowing problems up, out of proportion. So it's a lot of definitions, a lot of titles, a lot of labels, which is why a lot of people don't like therapy. But I always tell them that the label, the diagnoses, it shouldn't be your focus. The diagnoses is just like saying there's a couch or a chase or a chair. You have to differentiate certain things so you know what to do for them. So that's why I use diagnoses. That's how I explain it. It's not to label you. It's not to say that something's bad. It's just you have to be aware of what it is. So that's number 1, number 91. So again, I hope that this channel is an open and honest, always a loving channel, respectful channel. But I do want to have some live phone calls because I want to give advice. I want to be straightforward a little bit more. I don't want to have to process, for months with this. I'm totally fine. I love what I do. Okay, I'm so blessed to have found something that I can do until I'm old, until I pass away. As long as I can speak and comprehend, and analyze and process, I'm gonna be working. I'll always do this. But I want this to be another outlet for me, because again, this is going to be therapeutic for me. I'm going to be talking about a lot of life experiences. I'm also going to be talking about a lot of clients, which is also helping me to de-stress, decompress. And when I say talking about clients, I mean scenarios. Again, disclaimer, nothing is HIPAA violated at all because you guys know absolutely nothing about who I'm talking about. Yeah, absolutely nothing. I won't be using names. If I use any names, I'll give them fake names, just like most of the videos do on here. Been researching videos for a while to kind of see what's okay and what's not. Again, I'm very new to it, so you're not going to hear a lot of animations and things right now. But hopefully, I'll get into that. But hopefully, when you pop in, you'll be willing to listen, and then hopefully we can interact as well, because I really want to interact. And I want to do lives. So I'm also on Twitter, and I think it's Evolving Minds. It's either, I think it's Evolving Minds. And then the business is Evolving Minds Therapy. I think that is on Twitter or TikTok, one of them. And then Zanye Speaks. So you can find me with either of those names. Okay. And then sooner or later, I'll get a little bit more organized. But I'm sure if you want to find me, you can find me. So put any questions in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe, because obviously I need subscribers so you guys can watch me. And make sure you hit the like button if you like it. So my name is Zanye Allen. I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor. My business is Evolving Minds Therapy. I'm in the Las Vegas area. I cannot wait. Zanye Speaks. Let's chat about it. Yay, yay. Yay, yay.